The glass doors of LuxeVogue's flagship store gleamed under the Manhattan streetlights, reflecting Amara's silhouette as she stood frozen, clutching a crumpled invitation. She was 22, her dress, a patchwork of thrift store finds she'd spent weeks sewing into something she thought screamed elegance. Her heart raced. This was her chance to attend the exclusive fashion gala, a ticket won through a local design contest. Her braids were swept into an intricate updo, her smile wide with hope. But the security guard's sneer cut deeper than the autumn chill. "You can't come in dressed like that," he barked, his voice loud enough to draw stares from the velvet-roped crowd. "This isn't a charity event." Amara's cheeks burned as whispers rippled through the line. Her dress, her pride, was suddenly a spotlight of shame. She tried to explain, the invitation, her contest win, but the guard crossed his arms, unmoved. Rules are rules. LuxeVogue has standards. A woman in a sequined gown laughed, her voice sharp. "Maybe try a discount store next time." The crowd's snickers felt like needles. Amara's hands shook as she stuffed the invitation into her bag, her dreams of mingling with designers crumbling. She turned away, the city's hum drowning her thoughts, but something shifted inside her. As she walked past the glowing storefront, its mannequins draped in haute couture, her tears dried. She stopped, staring at the gold LuxeVogue logo. "One day," she whispered, her voice barely audible but fierce, "I'll own this place." The words felt impossible, reckless even, but they burned in her chest like a vow. She wasn't just a girl from Harlem with a sewing machine. She was Amara Jackson, and she'd make them regret this night. Back in her tiny apartment, the hum of her sewing machine became her heartbeat. She sketched designs until dawn, each stitch a defiance of that guard's sneer. She didn't sleep, didn't eat, just poured her pain into fabric. Her mother's voice echoed, "They can't take your worth unless you let them." Amara wouldn't let them. She took extra shifts at the diner, saved every penny, and enrolled in night classes at a community college, studying business between coffee runs. The rejection wasn't just a moment. It was fuel. She started selling her designs at local markets, her bold patterns catching eyes. A boutique owner named Lena took a chance on her, displaying her dresses in a Brooklyn shop. Word spread. Customers loved her vibrant, inclusive styles, clothes that fit real bodies, not just mannequins. By 25, Amara had a small online store. By 28, her brand, Amara Threads, was in department stores. But LuxeVogue's logo still haunted her. She'd passed their stores, remembering that night, her resolve hardening. At 32, she stood in a boardroom, facing LuxeVogue's executives. They were desperate. Sales were tanking, their brand labeled elitist and outdated. Amara, now a self-made millionaire, held the winning bid. "I'm buying you out," she said, her voice steady. The room went silent. The same guard wasn't there, but his words echoed. This time, Amara was the one setting the rules. The rain-slick streets of Harlem buzzed with late-night energy, but Amara's world shrank to the glowing facade of LuxeVogue's flagship store. She'd spent weeks preparing for this night, her fingers raw from stitching a dress that blended her mother's old shawl with thrift store silk. The invitation, won through a local design contest, felt like a golden ticket. At 22, she was a dreamer, her sketches of bold, colorful gowns filling notebooks in her cramped apartment. But as she approached the velvet rope, the guard's eyes narrowed. "You can't come in dressed like that," he said, his voice cutting through the chatter. The crowd turned, their stares pinning her like a spotlight. Her dress, her pride, was suddenly a costume in their eyes. "I won the contest," she stammered, holding up the invitation. The guard didn't budge. "Standards," he said, waving her off. A woman in a glittering gown smirked, whispering to her friend, loud enough for Amara to hear. She thought that'd pass for couture? Laughter followed, sharp and cruel. Amara's throat tightened, her hands shaking as she shoved the invitation into her bag. She wanted to scream, to demand respect, but the weight of their judgment silenced her. She turned away, the city's noise swallowing her steps. Alone on the subway, she sat in the corner, her dress creased, her dreams bruised. But as the train rattled, something shifted. She pulled out her sketchbook, her pencil trembling. The guard's words echoed, but so did her mother's. "They don't decide your worth." Amara's jaw clenched. She drew a dress, bold, vibrant, unlike anything LuxeVogue sold. "I'll show them," she whispered. Back home, her apartment smelled of coffee and fabric dye. She didn't sleep. Her sewing machine hummed, each stitch a rebellion against that night. She wasn't just sewing a dress, she was stitching her dignity back together. The gala's rejection wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Amara's apartment was a chaos of fabric scraps and takeout containers, the hum of her sewing machine a constant companion. The LuxeVogue rejection stung, but it lit a fire she couldn't ignore. She worked double shifts at the diner, her hands smelling of grease, but every tip went into a jar labeled Dreams. At night, she studied business at a community college, her textbooks stained with coffee. Her mother, frail but fierce, watched from her armchair. "You're bigger than their rules, Amara," she'd say. Those words kept her going. She sketched designs that celebrated her roots, bold patterns, vibrant colors, dresses that fit curves, not just models. One Saturday, she set up a table at a Harlem market, her dresses swaying in the breeze. Passers-by stopped, drawn to the joy in her work. Lena Ascot, a boutique owner with kind eyes, bought one on the spot. "These are special," she said. "I want them in my shop." That sale, $75, wasn't just money, it was validation. Amara's heart soared. She wasn't invisible anymore. Lena's mentorship became a lifeline, teaching her pricing, marketing, and confidence. By month's end, 3 more dresses sold. Amara Threads was born, a name that screamed defiance. She wasn't just fighting for herself, she was rewriting the rules. Amara's days blurred into a marathon of work and ambition. Mornings at the diner, afternoons sewing, nights studying or pitching to boutiques. Her apartment was a workshop, fabric spilling onto the floor. She faced rejections, buyers who dismissed her urban aesthetic as niche, but each no sharpened her resolve. Lena taught her to negotiate, to price her worth, not her doubts. "Your designs tell stories," Lena said. "Don't let them cheapen you." Amara listened, refining her craft. Her dresses, inspired by Harlem's vibrancy, gained a following online. Social media buzzed with photos of real women, curvy, tall, short, wearing Amara threads, their smiles radiant. But money was tight. She maxed out 2 credit cards, skipped meals to buy fabric. Her mother's hospital bills loomed, a constant weight. Still, she hustled. At a trade show, a department store representative stopped at her booth. "These could sell," he said, skeptical but intrigued. Amara pitched hard, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Weeks later, the call came. Amara Threads would be in Macy's. She cried, not from relief, but from pride. She'd built this from nothing, from a night of shame. The LuxeVogue logo still lingered in her mind, but now she was closer. The boardroom smelled of polished wood and panic. LuxeVogue's executives, in tailored suits, fidgeted as Amara stood at the head of the table. At 32, she was no longer the girl denied entry. Amara Threads was a $1 million brand, its inclusive designs outshining LuxeVogue's fading empire. The brand was bleeding. Sales down 30%. Stores closing. Their elitist image a liability. Amara's bid, backed by investors who believed in her vision, was their lifeline. "I'm buying you out," she said, her voice like steel. The CEO, a man with a permanent scowl, scoffed. "You're that contest girl, aren't you?" Amara didn't flinch. "I'm the one saving your brand." Silence choked the room. She remembered the guard's sneer, the crowd's laughter. Now she held the pen. The deal was meticulous. Legal teams had combed every clause. Amara signed, her hands steady, her heart thundering. The executives left without a word. Alone, she walked to the flagship store's window, staring at the LuxeVogue logo. She'd been 22, humiliated, invisible. Now she owned it. The weight of that night lifted, replaced by power. She called Lena, her voice breaking. "I did it," Lena laughed. "You didn't just do it, you rewrote their story." Amara walked into LuxeVogue's headquarters, her boots echoing on marble floors. The staff stared, some curious, others hostile. She was an outsider, a contest girl turned owner. The brand's culture was toxic, exclusive designs, underpaid workers, and a history of gatekeeping. Amara didn't hesitate. She fired the guard from that night, now a mid-level manager, his sneer unchanged. "Standards have changed," she said, handing him his notice. She hired designers from diverse backgrounds, prioritizing talent over pedigree. Her first collection featured sizes for all bodies, colors that sang of her Harlem roots. Investors grumbled, predicting failure. But Amara trusted her vision. She trained staff in customer respect, banning snobbery. Lena joined as creative consultant, her warmth steadying Amara's nerves. The relaunch night arrived, the flagship store glowing with new signage. LuxeVogue, for everyone. Customers of all shapes, colors, and incomes streamed in, their laughter replacing the old crowd's snickers. A woman in an Amara-designed gown hugged her, tears in her eyes. "I feel seen," she said. Amara nodded, her throat tight. The store wasn't just a business, it was a statement. She turned rejection into revolution, proving kindness and justice could reshape even the cruelest spaces. LuxeVogue's stores buzzed with new energy. Amara's designs, bold, inclusive, alive, filled racks, drawing crowds from Harlem to Houston. Sales climbed 20% in 3 months, social media alive with praise. She faced pushback. Suppliers delayed shipments, citing logistics issues. Critics called her vision too populist. Amara didn't waver. She negotiated better contracts, hired local artisans, and paid fair wages. Her team, once skeptical, rallied. A cashier, Maria, stayed late to reorganize displays, echoing Amara's work ethic. Lena's advice, lead with heart, guided her. Amara visited her mother, now in better care, sharing stories of the brand's turnaround. The gala was her triumph. LuxeVogue's first inclusive fashion show held in the flagship store. Amara wore her own design, a gown that blended silk and defiance. Guests included contest winners, local designers, and everyday women, not just elites. As models walked, showcasing diverse bodies, the crowd roared. Amara took the stage, her voice steady. "This is for everyone who was told they didn't belong." Applause shook the room. She'd built more than a brand. She'd built a home for those once turned away, proving respect could rewrite history. Amara stood on her apartment's fire escape, Harlem's skyline stretching before her. LuxeVogue was no longer a gatekeeper's fortress. It was a beacon of inclusion, its stores packed, its designs celebrated. She'd paid off her mother's medical bills, hired local youth as interns, and funded a design scholarship. Her story went viral, shared by women who'd felt unseen. Challenges lingered. Competitors copied her designs. Media questioned her radical approach. But Amara's resolve held. She mentored young designers, teaching them to value their worth. Lena, now her partner, called her the heart of this revolution. At a community event, a teen in an Amara Threads dress hugged her, saying, "You made me believe I could." Amara's eyes stung. Her mother, watching from her wheelchair, smiled. "Told you, baby, you're bigger than their rules." That night, Amara posted online, 10 years ago, they said I didn't belong. Today I say you do. Share your story. Let's rewrite theirs." Comments flooded in. Stories of rejection turned to triumph. Amara looked out at the city, her vow from that rainy night fulfilled. She hadn't just bought LuxeVogue. She'd given the world a mirror to see its own worth.